What was the first ever blockbuster? Often Jaws and Star Wars are pointed to as the first movies to become cultural events, drawing in huge crowds and inspiring multiple sequels. However, I would argue that the James Bond movies that began with Dr. No in 1962 were the original blockbusters. Now for over 50 years, the series has continued to entertain and captivate audiences, with the character of 007 continuing to endure and be reinvented time and time again. Skyfall was my introduction to Bond, and it is one of my most memorable cinema experiences along with The Dark Knight Rises, so it means a lot to me. But why is this the best Bond film? Why do other Bond movies, other action movies, fall short of the standard? Well, here are the reasons why Skyfall is great. The film really strips Bond down to his most essential elements. Director Sam Mendes' choice to keep in line with the realistic tone established by Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, but not be afraid to indulge in the classic tropes, was a delicate balancing act that managed to pay off. One of my favourite scenes in the movie is where Bond meets Q for the first time in an art gallery.
Hazard, I can do more damage on my laptop sitting in my pyjamas before my first cup of Earl Grey than you can do in a year in the field.
Oh, so why do you need me?
Every now and then a trigger has to be pulled.
Or not pulled. It's hard to know which in your pyjamas. Q.
007.
A lot of the dialogue in Skyfall, which before my latest rewatch I had forgotten was superbly written, focuses on the necessity of 00 agents, linking into the broader theme of exploring who Bond is. The idea that Bond failed his physical and psychological evaluations is effective in upping the stakes, because where in previous Bond films you were assured that he was competent, here it is ambiguous and it's clear that he's out of his depth. Skyfall has a 4-act structure. The opening action sequence and the fallout of Bond's death makes up the first act. The second act involves Bond's return to MI6 and his mission to Shanghai, ending with Silver's capture. The third act follows Silver's escape in London, and the Skyfall mansion sequence is the epilogue. The minimalist structure is why the film is so well paced. There isn't any wasted time. The film visits 5 different countries and has 5 main action sequences. Silver is a great villain because he is essentially a mirror image to Bond. What happened to Silver is very similar to what happens to Bond at the start of the film, which is M making the decision to prioritize the mission over her agent. Producer Barbara Broccoli stated that they wanted to really mind the relationship between Bond and M, because it is the most significant relationship that he has in his life. M is the only person who represents authority to him. Silver questions what Bond's place as a secret agent is. If M is willing to risk his life, is Bond really that special? Or is he just a faceless number that can be replaced? The film answers this question by setting the final action sequence in Bond's childhood home, a place we never visited in the previous films. It's a personal bookend on a story that explores who Bond really is. That's why I think Daniel Craig is the best actor to play James Bond, because he's explored the character beyond the 007 codename. He's more than just shaken not stirred, but he's not above the tropes that define the Bond franchise. Skyfall is frequently compared to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, and to be honest, I don't see it. Apart from the whole wanting to get caught villain plan, the movies are really telling completely different stories. The Joker wants to disrupt order, whereas Silver's plan directly targets M and is revenge driven. Although, Sam Mendes' filmography is starting to look very similar to Nolan's. I think Skyfall is visually one of the greatest achievements on film. I don't often say this, but every single shot is beautiful. Roger Deakins really contributed to this film, given that the Bond movies are pretty hit or miss with their cinematography. Having seen all the Bond films, it's pretty clear that in the period at the end of Connery's run and at the start of Moore's, the studio had realized that they could make these movies for dirt cheap and just reap the profits. Thankfully, Skyfall is well out of that realm. I mean, just look at this long take in the Shanghai sequence. I have no idea how the crew managed to achieve that, but it has the effect of really putting the audience on edge, proving that what they are seeing on screen is real. M throughout the film refers to Bond being from the shadows, and the opening shot of the film displays this. But by having the light shine on his eyes, it foreshadows that the movie is going deeper into James Bond as a character. Because of Skyfall, the Bond movies can be gritty and indulgent in classic tropes simultaneously. It's the bridge between the realism of Casino Royale and the tongue-in-cheek comedic elements of the earlier installments. It wasn't afraid to re-establish the status quo of the franchise, but it also breathed new life into it. Too bad they had to mess it up in Spectre. Well, that's for me to look at next week. Thanks guys for watching this video on why Skyfall is the best Bond film. As I mentioned, Spectre is coming next, and then I'll be doing a deep dive into one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time. What do you guys think about Skyfall? Is it your favorite James Bond movie like it is mine? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, because I'm interested to find out. If you're new to the channel, I have recent videos on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and Inception for you to check out. That's about it for me guys. Thank you for all your support, and I'll see you next week.